Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Apologies for the background here, moving is in full swing at this point, but it's time for some Legacy. And today we are going to be playing with BUG Pox. So, um, I'm gonna kind of do a live reaction to this deck list this time around, and then I'll kind of swap to the deck tech proper to show you what I'm actually going to play. So, Smallpox is a card that is absolutely beloved by fans. It is a fun card. It hasn't necessarily kept up with fire design and recent printings, but assuming that you can mitigate the downsides of this, there's so much going on here. Like, you get a drain, a discard, a creature sacrifice, and a land sacrifice. And given how few lands a lot of legacy decks play, not this one, we have quite a few lands, but losing a single land, and especially if you lose multiple, it can put you in a pretty bad spot. But kind of in looking what's going on with this deck list, I don't like it. And I want to explain some of my problems with this. So, counting Grist as a creature, because it does have that weird text, this deck list has 8, 9 creatures, but is running 3 copies of Reanimate. Now, sometimes is that Reanimate going to be super clutch because you thought see some initiative creature and then reanimate it? Yes, absolutely. It absolutely will. But then you play against some combo deck, and all of a sudden your reanimates are dead draws, and you don't have cards like Brainstorm to go and really mitigate that. And then if we take a look at something like Snapcaster Mage, Reanimate doesn't always have a target. You don't really want to Snapcaster a life from the Loam. And what that means here is that Snapcaster Mage ultimately only has 11 targets, many of which actually will kill the Snapcaster Mage itself in process. And your Smallpox, while something your deck is built around, if that is eating away at your ability to get to green, green, blue, blue, or if that is causing you to sacrifice an Uro, that leaves you in this really weird spot. So ultimately, what I'm kind of mentally thinking about right now as I get ready to play this deck list is, how do I mitigate some of these problems while keeping this BUG Pox shell that Asumerian envisioned intact? Because that's something that I always want to do in playing these donation deck lists. So I'm going to go into the tank and I'm going to see what I come up with. All right, here's where I ended up after some tinkering. I tried to do some research, but there's not actually a lot out there in terms of BUG Pox. Like, there's a video of mine and a video of Brian's from about a year ago, and that's more or less about it. So I'm going to try replacing Snapcaster Mage with Witherbloom Command. This takes me down a couple of creatures, and I'm also dropping the Opposition Agent. I just don't really think that fits here all that well without Dark Ritual. That's typical of the mono black deck lists. And this is going to give me some similar card advantage to what Snapcaster Mage was doing, while also serving as a removal spell for certain permanents. And then we're also going to kind of split the card advantage of Baleful Strix with Sylvan Library. Sylvan Library plus Uro is just a proven thing that does really good work. And I was worried a little bit about like Reanimate plus Thoughtseize being a little bit too taxing on my life total. And kind of on that note, I'm going to go a little bit deeper on Sudden Edicts. Maybe some of these should be Sheoldred's Edicts so I can get better at answering Planeswalkers, but I have just fallen in love with Sudden Edict as just a way to just absolutely say no to creatures out of decks like Delver. I have increased the land count by 1 to fit the 4th Urza Saga into the deck list. I just think that is going to be one of the easiest ways to transition into killing our opponent. Use the first 2 or 3 turns to kind of stabilize the board, attack some of my opponent's resources, and then start going in on Urza's Saga. And I'm going up to a second currency converter with like both Smallpox and Liliana of the Veil here. I think this is a pretty reasonable card. I have had less success with currency converter on my side of the battlefield than my opponents have had playing it against me, but theoretically I think it feels pretty good here. As far as the sideboard goes, I've kept it more or less the same. I've changed some of the hate a little bit to kind of match up what I'm expecting to play against. Again, Douthie Voidwalker was in the sideboard, but that's the sort of thing that's going to get caught by Smallpox a lot of the time, so I replaced that with a Surgical. And then since I hedged a little bit more against fair stuff in game 1 with like Sudden Edict, Extra Currency Converter, Witherbloom Command, libraries, that sort of stuff, I opted to put a couple of Hinder Turoks in the sideboard to kind of round things out there. I considered dropping one of the fetch lands or a Yavimaya to help with the green-green side of Uro, but the problem with doing that was that I didn't end up with an extra source of blue, and I already have a decent number of colorless sources. Oh wait, hold up. Oh no, there is a tropical island in this deck. JK. Alright, I think with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the league and see how this feels. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. If you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Alright, I have a slow but functional hand. I'll 100% just keep this. We're hoping Wasteland is good against my opponent. Just play our potential green source for turn 2 life from the Loam, pass the turn. Alright, that is a fair card. Not a wastelandable land, but that is a creature that can just eat it to Sudden Edict, which is great for me. I think at end of turn, I'm going to go ahead and just thin my deck of a land. I don't really need to draw more. Start on a Bayou. Is my plan to start doing Urza Saga nonsense next turn? I have to make that call right now. I don't really have another valid play in my hand. I think this is unfortunately my plan. I've got a couple of Plague Engineers in the sideboard that can help out a lot with this matchup, but my opponent's going to be pretty good at beating 1-for-1s with things like Glimpse of Nature. Okay, sure. It's unfortunate. I 100% have to wasteland that guy's Cradle. Just giving up Urza Saga value. That is what it is, though. We'll convert it into a Mox Diamond, and that'll be fine. Like, I get a draw 2 here, and then Mox Diamond can help me kind of catch up in terms of tempo, but I have 6 lands in hand right now. Very much not where I want to be. I want removal. Okay, here's another land drop. That's just going to get wastelanded. I don't have something like a Tabernacle to really take advantage of this situation. Birchlore maybe here? An Elvish Reclaimer instead. Sure. Take a little damage in combat. I don't think I want to dredge here. No. I think I'm still getting the Mox Diamond over the currency converter. Some fetch land. Do Wasteland. Wasteland this. Kinda hope the top of the deck is kind to me. Getting a Mox Diamond sets me up for making Urza Sagas that can block fair bodies, but I think I'm just dead to natural order this turn. The Elvish Reclaimer grows to a 3-4 after I Wasteland. That'll do. Alright. The Plague Engineers are great. Pithing Needle is a reasonable thing to have access to. Pierce and Flusterstorm and him are all technically playable. I think I don't get to Sylvan Library here. My opponent could just turn creatures sideways relatively quickly and pressure my life total a lot. And I think since I'm boarding up an Urza Saga tutor target, I trim a different one. I think I'm going to try to avoid the extra disruption when I'm on the play. No. Does not have starting colored mana unless I jump through a lot of hoops here. I am not excited about this. I will be keeping it, probably pitching one of the Urza Sagas. This doesn't really have the degree of interaction that I'm hoping for. As a general heuristic, one piece of interaction is not enough to stop an Elves deck. Well, I was hoping to punch a hole in the early game, but I think I have to punch the hole in the late game instead. Problem here is that my opponent's Green Sun can eventually just get them a win condition in the form of Allosaurus Shepherd. Is not great for me. I needed something like Thoughtseize into a Smallpox or Thoughtseize into a Sudden Edict, I think, to have a decent shot at doing something meaningful. Alright. Opponent goes for no attacks. I'm just going to pause here for a second on end step, like I'm thinking about crashing in. Or, sorry, like using my mana for something like a Snapcaster. Grist plus here seems reasonable. I have blue, so I need to get green with this. I'll grab like a Bayou. And then we will play this thing, which is ultimately just a distraction. Note that I can just effectively die next turn. My opponent can get an end of turn Dryad Arbor, play Gaia's Cradle, and rip a Natural Order. Alright. Step 1. Okay, it is a Wirewood. So things are much more protected now. It is a Green Sun for 2. Okay, so they're just going to assemble this wonderful engine that allows them to draw a whole bunch of extra cards. That's totally reasonable, and it will bury me. For sure. I'm likely dead next turn. Like double Wirewood Symbiote here is just so many cards. And Grist can only deal with one Wirewood Symbiote, not actually stop the engine. The chat log says Medea Magica is being attacked by Craterhoof Behemoth, Elvish Reclaim. Oh, sorry. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Sure. So I will go ahead and take a block here. Okay, cool. So my Life from the Loam's not doing me a lot. My Currency Converter is not doing me a lot. I believe it is correct to play Urza's Saga and leave open Bayou here when casting Uro. That way I can potentially Thoughtseize if I happen to draw that. I did not. I will play a Currency Converter and make an Insect with Grist, and that's the best I've got. I expect to be dead. Like, my deck is just too slow here. Okay, that's a glimpse of nature. So, if you're newer to Legacy and you haven't experienced this before, it's pretty monstrous. So every time my opponent casts that Elvish Visionary, they now get 2 cards. One from the Glimpse, one from Elvish Visionary's ETB trigger. Okay, sure. And then, the whole thing is gonna happen. I think I'm gonna go ahead and let them do their thing and just cut to them killing me. Okay, Storm is now 11. My opponent cast a whole bunch of spells. They play a Craterhoof, and they have very much more than lethal here. I don't have enough interaction at the appropriate speed to deal with this deck. Alright, I'll be keeping my hand here. I have a piece of turn 1 interaction, and then I have Life from the Loam as a source of future card advantage. The secondary Life from the Loam at that. I think I'm going to go ahead and play a Mox Diamond around a Daze to start things off, and then play a Thoughtseize around a Daze. Ho-ho! Yeah, I'll take the show and tell. For sure. Alright, we know exactly what we're up against. And my opponent's in a bit of a weird position where if they cast a cantrip that they draw, they drop access to Force of Will. Okay, well that's a real good one. I think I still just jam the Grist here. Yeah, I think I will jam in an attempt to take this Force of Will plus blue card out of my opponent's hand. Okay. Success. And that is a basic. Okay, so we are playing against Sneak and Show specifically. That's a wastelandable land. That's good for me. That is an Urza Saga. I'll play that. I will go ahead and pick this up. I'll have to decide whether or not I'm dredging Life from the Loam next turn to specifically look for a Wasteland. I'm going to assume that my opponent has one of these. I imagine Lotus Petal was the other thing that went back. I'm going to try to look for interaction. Sylvan Library. While not interaction, it's certainly not bad. I will go ahead and fetch lands that start putting us... Nope. Wrong green card. That start putting us closer to dropping an Uro into play. Alright. The mana is not my opponent's bottleneck here. Construct token time. We're going to do Sylvan Library here. I just want to look at real cards. No to that. Oh, fuck. What happened with this trigger? Oh, did I click on no to library instead of no from Life from Loam? God damn it. Alright. That's frustrating, but that's on me. Alright. Wasteland attacks this. Life from the Loam. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. That is a very frustrating punt on my end. I didn't deserve to win that one. Like, I missed 1 point of damage that turn, followed by 4 points of damage every turn after that for that misclick. Alright. Fluster, Hydroblast, Spell Pierce, Pithing Needle, Might. That's a lot of cards to bring in. A lot of them are kind of medium levels of value, but I think that's okay. I don't really need Shadow Spear here. I don't need second currency converter here. I may or may not end up keeping the first. Witherbloom Command's not really destroying anything super relevant here. Those can go. Having trouble finding cuts, so I will probably junk the second one of those. Sort these now. Feels like I can go down a life from the Loam. Now it's starting to get tougher. Maybe go down a land and 1 Uro. Don't need to be in a hurry to win the game. Might board Surgical on the draw. I'm gonna go down 1 land of some kind. I think a Wasteland. I don't want to board down a colored source when I just brought in Hymn to Taurox. Oh, buddy. I think I say no to this. This is totally fine. I'll keep this. Pitching 1 Sylvan Library in all likelihood. Gonna have to make a called shot on Pithing Needle. Probably just putting it on Sneak Attack. Alright. Alternatively, I can leave it in hand and discard it. Do Smallpox next turn. But I think I want that card in play. I think this is just important enough. Forces my opponent down a show and tell rabbit hole. Uh-oh. Oh, that's red mana. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's pretty good. My Smallpox will help me with that. Do I him first? I don't think so. I think I don't want to let my opponent get this mana. Because this takes them off of the treasure tokens and either takes them off of show and tell amounts of mana or takes them off colored sources. I think Urza's Saga is my least valuable thing here. An Underground Sea. Alright. That was pretty good. My opponent can do a lot of selection here, but it's very hard for them to do something that is backbreaking this turn. Right? It would take... Oh, they like all their cards. That's certainly scary. Oh, let's probably go find a new Underground Sea and attempt something that takes out both of my opponent's remaining cards. Ooh. Oh, do you have Veil? They did not cast Veil. Okay. Alright, this is a great game where Force of Negation will absolutely destroy me, but otherwise things look pretty reasonable. Oh? Okay. Ye old Mox Diamond, discard Saga, play Swamp, cast Life from the Loam. Oop. Cast Life from the Loam, get back the Saga. Next turn I can Lily minus and start doing some cool stuff. I believe I just take a natural draw next turn. I would very much like to find a fetch land and start working towards a green, green, blue, blue for Uro. A lot of hierarchs. Right. That's okay. Like, I am in the situation, yuck, where I can just deal with some hierarchs. Not the cleanest thing in the world, and I'm ultimately gonna end up losing my Liliana, and shortly thereafter I'll also lose Urza Saga. But that's not the end of the world. I'm probably playing against a natural order deck. Sort of humorously, 3 different people all released videos on the same day featuring a turbo natural order strategy. Okay. Well, I don't think you were supposed to wasteland me. I have Life from the Loam and you don't. So I do this. Now effectively draw 2 with a Life from the Loam. And I think I just play Bayou here. Like, I have other things that I want to do much more than I want to just start making Urza Saga construct tokens. I think I dredge Life from the Loam next turn, though. I think I'm trying to go... Yeah, that's fine. I think I'm trying to go and find Wasteland. Wasteland is just so incredibly strong here. Let's dredge. Did not find it. So that's okay. I will make Urza Saga as my land drop. Go ahead and play Lily. Minus Lily. Again, just kind of trying to keep my opponent off of 4 mana for Natural Order, because Natural Order for Atraxa is a major pain in the butt. I'm fine with Liliana's just being overcosted edicts. Yeah. I believe that was the right one to sacrifice, because Bright Arbor gets wastelanded. Noble Hierarch does not get wastelanded. It's very clear what I'm trying to do here. Alright, goodbye, Lily. Alright, more critters. Okay, there's a new land. Don't have a removal spell this turn. I can try to find one by playing an Uro. I can then Uro into Sudden Edict or Uro into Smallpox, and that's incredibly strong. I think I do that rather than, like, Library plus Saga. Thoughtseize is also a hit. Probably Trop. We'll go blue, green, 1, cast Uro. Shadow Spear, not great. Sacrifice that, and then I'll drop a library. I've got to hope to dodge this turn. They don't beat the natural order coming into play here. And very carefully trying to keep my opponent off of 4 mana. And I'm presuming that my opponent kept their hand because they could just natural order when they got to 4 mana. So, like, keeping them off of that at all costs is incredibly important. Oh. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's totally fine. Holy shit, I'm so relieved right now. Yeah, this is all good. Like, alright, I'm just gonna yield to these. Yeah, this is so much less scary than I thought it was going to be. A Thoughtseize, that's not super appealing. I think Thoughtseize goes back. I think I pay life to make an extra land drop, considering that I am about to drop an Uro. If I drop, I'll pick up an Underground Sea, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drop Uro. This lets me make a second land drop for turn. And then play one of these 2 cards. And gets Shadow Spear here. Big lifelinky Uro is fantastic for me. Alright, sure. I'm expecting some sort of like Knight of the Reliquary-esque card. Atlas Jailer. Okay. That's not bad. Wasn't super expecting that. I haven't seen a Palace Jailer in play in a very long time. Alright. That's not great for me. Don't like this stuff. I need to deal with the onboard threats. I just shuffle away these and don't spend any life here. I will shuffle for what I am about to do. I'm going to go ahead and drop a 2-mana currency converter. Go ahead and loot. Start a library. Put it under there. Be a 3-mana Life from Loam or a 3-mana Sudden Edict. Let's go ahead and do this now. I am in a little bit of trouble. I have a Sylvan Library to select for my draws. My primary problem here is I kind of thought my opponent was on a different deck than what they are on for a good portion of this game. Alright, there's Knight of the Reliquary. I don't really know that I beat this now. These extra bodies around. So Thoughtseize goes back. Urza Saga goes back. 4 mana, Lily minus. It takes this out. Still more than lethal. No. Okay, I am alive. Probably dead the following turn, but I'm alive. So then we'll Loam back, Saga, some fetch land. Make the Saga as the land drop. Alright. So this is at Lily, this is at me, this is at me. The way this has to work is I have to make a rogue here. I'm dead if my opponent has swords. Okay, they do have the swords. So I go up to 8 life, but this is exactly 8 damage, unfortunately. So, womp womp. Yeah. So when I played this Uro, I was expecting Swords to Plowshares as something my opponent could have, but if I gain the 6 life there, I have so much more time. Palace Jailer specifically taking that out without giving me life while giving my opponent like 5 extra cards there or whatever was brutal. Plague Engineers are great for helping to clean up those mana dorks and trade with things like Knight of the Reliquary. I don't think I want to Leyline. Pithing Needle is playable. I don't know that it's exciting. Ham's also playable, but I think I'm mostly going to be playing to the board. Like, I'm probably even going down on Thoughtseizes and just kind of setting up for a slog of a game. I don't know that I'm supposed to get rid of all the Thoughtseizes. Like, I still do want a couple of turn 1 plays. And Thoughtseizes are better at multi-spelling than him. Yeah, this is a very reasonable hand when I'm on the play, because my opponent will almost certainly lead with a turn 1 mana dork, and then I can get a 2-for-1 with Witherbloom Apprentice, getting a land back and killing one of their things. Yep, this is exactly what we wanted. I still think I just kill that and don't get greedy, trying to wait for extra Plague Engineer based value. Bayou, Underground Sea, cast this, mill 3, kill a creature, mill me, kill that. Alright, ooh, would I like Wasteland? I would like Wasteland. Alright, so I am very much in the driver's seat for this match from here. My opponent plays out another mana dork, I just Plague Engineer. If they don't play out a mana dork, I start doing Liliana of the Veil stuff with Life from the Loam so that I don't discard anything that's truly critical. Okay. Thalia is fine. Thalia leaves me in a spot where I can just Plague Engineer on human and kind of keep things going. Since I'm not playing Lily here, I'm not going to dredge this turn. I'm going to continue to just keep the battlefield clear and drop Plague Engineer. And it goes on human. Okay, my opponent had to walk away from the computer for a minute. They are now back. I'm not going to dredge Life from the Loam here. So my plan is to Wasteland my opponent off of Endurance, because that's about the only thing that super makes sense for them to have here with this 3 mana up. So I'm going to go ahead and go to combat, at which point their mana is going to empty. Unless they cast the Endurance that I expect them to have. There it is. So just quick note, we are currently in my main phase 1. So I get priority back, meaning that I get to just cast this Liliana of the Veil, edict my opponent's Endurance, and then start crashing in. So folks, use that as a lesson. Like, the signs are there for what your opponent likely has. If you can read them, you can set yourself up for really good situations like that one. All right, sure. And a nice thing here is I have a new Life from the Loam. Green Sun for 2. What are we working with? Fiend Artisan. Sure. A currency converter is decent here. I will go ahead and for 1 mana, play a currency converter. We'll go ahead and plus a Lily. Junk Misty. It's got Gaia's Cradle over there. Go ahead and do this thing. Make my treasure token. Drop an Urza Saga. Assassin's Trophy, the Fiend Artisan. Fine with just using the treasure. Cast Life from the Loam, mostly so that I can just dredge it on my own turn. And hit for 2. So I have a little bit of insurance versus humans. I have an Edict for any creature. I have an Urza Saga. Palace Jailer is the most annoying card my opponent could have. That's not bad either. Alright, so I get whacked by Questing Beast. And when that happens, Lily also dies. That was also, admittedly, pretty annoying. I don't know that I need to dredge Life from the Loam right now. I'd kind of like removal. Or more currency converter. If I activate that, just discard this currency converter. That's fine. I like to dredge. I don't think I'd like to dredge. Discard an Urza Saga here. Yes, I will do that. Do this. Fetch. Grab a new Bayou. We'll have a token. Can't be blocked by itty bitty creatures. Unfortunately, I'm just crashing in now. I am going to be able to make rather large Urza Saga construct tokens, assuming that I keep the treasure tokens I make with currency converter around. So I'm not actually long-term worried about the questing beast. Like, it's a pain, don't get me wrong. That's very good. Going for the Saga or the currency converter? It is going for the Saga. I will make a creature in response, but unfortunately it's only a 2/2 right now. It's a 3/3 once I play currency converter. It's a 4/4 once I play second currency converter. I do think I will dredge here. Oh, I hit an Uro. Caracas, though. Need a Wasteland. Alright, let's get some fuel for these currency converters. We'll go Saga, Peatland, Verdant. Do that. Surgical Extraction on Uro. Sure. Seems like kind of a weird time to do that to me. Like, the Uro is not threatening with onboard Caracas, and I'm not returning a Wasteland right now. Alright. Drop Urza's Saga. Play Currency Converter. I will go ahead and do this now. They didn't surgical my Uro from my graveyard. I'm going to take a natural draw. No, I'm going to look for Wasteland. not find Wasteland. We'll just put a Verdant Catacombs. I don't want to put it under this one. I want to put it under the other one. And I think I just passed the turn here. I think I turtle up for a few turns and then probably win. Okay, there comes the Questing Beast. I'll go ahead and put this into my graveyard, generating a 4/4, which I will very happily make this trade. My opponent can Karakas their own Questing Beast. They weren't prepared for that. Alright, cool. Yeah, so Wasteland in theory is not bad, but okay. Yeah, Wasteland Ramunap's cool. A Bayou. I'm gonna go ahead and do an Uro here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get rid of 1. 5. Done. I'm just gonna do this essentially to make an extra land drop this turn. Ooh. Shadowspear is a good pickup. Why the beatdown? I think I became the beatdown with that draw. I just go Shadowspear, whip at the cost of a treasure. 100% attack with this. About to gain 6 life. Attack my opponent for 8. Yeah, I think I can go full aggro here. Okay, we're gonna trade some bodies. I'll do this. Gain 6 in process. I know my opponent has Questing Beast, but it's so not a problem. I just start looping Life from Loam with currency converters and make my construct tokens absolutely massive. Cradle's fine. Esper Sentinel's fine. So there's Questing Beast. Alright, so I don't know that that was actually... Or no, Trample. Never mind. That's fine. The Ramunap's not swinging in. A little weird to me. A Life from the Loam. 1, 2, 3 targets. I should have a floating mana. 1, 2, 3. I don't know what happened to that mana. Oh, my land randomly untapped itself. Okay. So, let's now activate a currency converter for 2 mana. No, I'll take a natural draw. I will discard a land. I will put under currency converter 2. I'll then tap that, make a treasure token, make a land drop, go to combat, bash in for 7. Opponent is throwing away their Questing Beast. I will trample over for 3. Now let's go green, 1, blue. Play Uro. I don't need to dredge here. Go put an extra land onto the battlefield with a Wasteland. Sack Uro. We'll Wasteland your Gaia's Cradle. We'll call that a turn. I'm now at 23 life. I can answer either Esper Sentinel or Ramunap next turn with like Life from the Loam currency converters. I'm in very good shape. My opponent's basically locked into Wastelanding my Urza Saga every turn. And I think if I ever find another removal spell to just clear that Ramunap Excavator, my opponent is buried. That is a Wasteland. Taking out the Urza's Saga. Collector Oof would be pretty good. It is Collector Oof. I'll go ahead and eat 3 damage. Again, I think this is perfectly fine. No dredge. You want something other than lands, though. Let's go ahead and play a Lily. Pay the tax. Edict my opponent. Esper Sentinel is gone. Life from the Loam. 1, 2, 3. 2 mana. Drop an Urza Saga. My opponent will attack and kill Lily, meaning that I will have enough cards in graveyard to escape Uro if that's something that I need to do. I need a removal spell here. Alright, and my opponent sent everything at Lily just in case. Or no, sorry. I forget that chat is bugged and does not actually work as intended. A Knight of the Reliquary is scary. Endurance is also annoying. Yeah, I just need to draw removal. How about more life from the Loam, Phil? I will draw a card here. Not what I'm looking for. It should, in theory, help me find removal. We'll drop Urza Saga again. And draw a card. Where's my damnation? Alright, goodbye Urza Saga for the gajillionth time. Taken 7. Like, it's bad. Okay, that's fine. That Life from the Loam is not something that I was really intending on using. Like, I am trying to dedicate my mana to whatever removal spells I can find off of Sylvan Library. That's not great. A Sudden Edict. Probably gets rid of an Endurance. This always goes back. I don't think I can pay life here. Which sucks, but it is what it is. So now I believe, so that I am a card deeper next turn, I go ahead and play this and crack it to draw that Verdant Catacombs. Yep. This 4 damage brings me to 6. Uh-huh. Can you just, like, draw a land one time? I would appreciate that. Wow. Yeah, I am dead. That is 3, 6, that is 7 lands there. That's super fucking frustrating. Alright, this one's an auto mulligan. I don't have enough mana, and like having multiple smallpox in hand is a real problem if you don't have the mana to actually cast them. It's real interesting if my top card is a land, because then I have Mox Diamond, Smallpox, Smallpox without sacrificing any lands, but I think that is too risky. Cool. Wow, okay. Sure. Willie goes back. I probably throw back second Mox Diamond. My opponent's probably playing Sneak and Show, so I think I just need both Thoughtseizes. And assuming that I do find something like a Life from the Loam, Mox Diamond is cool. Mox Diamond also gives me my 3rd color. Mox Diamond also converts a drawn Wasteland or Urza Saga into a colored mana source, which matters a lot. Okay. Ignore the Smallpox for now, I think. I don't think I'm supposed to play towards, like, randomly hitting second Mox Diamond and land. Let's just Thoughtseize, my opponent will Brainstorm, and then protect their most important card. Okay. I am going to take the Grizzlebrand here. I'm going to assume that there's probably a Show and Tell on top of my opponent's deck. I don't want to give them Omniscience into Grizzlebrand. I will give them Show and Tell into Omniscience. That's very bad. I can't give them draw 14, cast all those cards for free. Alright, there's land drop. Alright, Ponder was one of the cards they hid. Surprisingly, no shuffle. That's a new Mox Diamond. I've only got one valid play. Alright, Flusterstorm, sure. So, life's bad. My opponent gets to just put Sneak Attack into play and kind of float it there. And then at any point they draw a creature and maybe don't literally kill me on the spot, but probably effectively kill me on the spot. Alright. So this is my 2nd black that I need. Discard Urza Saga. Smallpox doesn't do a lot here. I am just going to play a library and try to get myself out of this situation. I just need more cards to win. Like, if I Smallpox and they discard some card in hand like Omniscience and get rid of Ancient Tomb, I don't really actually accomplish anything. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Well, I guess draw your cards. But there's just an incredibly high chance that my opponent 22s me here. Here's the 2nd activation. Okay, it's Atraxa. Atraxa reveals Emrakul, so I am dead. Alright, hymns in. Counter spells in, Needle in, Might in, Surgical is technically playable. Shadow Spear out, a Currency Converter out, Witherbloom Command out, probably one Uro out, 63. What did I do before? Might have boarded both of those out. I board down a land. Feels about right. Maybe one library can go. Alright, I've kept a discard heavy hand, and my opponent mulliganed to 5, which probably bodes well for me. Alright, I have taken their show and tell. And I think I just immediately go for the Smallpox for the value. I think I'm going to junk my Nurturing Peatland here and take an extra damage. Yeah. I think I just discard the Sudden Edict and play Uro in the not too distant future. But yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I don't think we're getting to 4 mana anytime fast for me to just want to immediately start working towards that. The current problem here is that if my opponent top decks Show and Tell, they still just have the 4 mana they need to dump an Atraxa into play. Not the best, but that's okay. Alright, so I leave them with Lotus Petal, Ancient Tomb. Again, they could top deck a Sneak Attack and loop that into play, and I live in fear of that forever. Not willing to play out the Lotus Petal. Cards like Brainstorm exist. I think I just play Uro. A decent amount of the time I hit a land drop to be able to play Pithing Needle as well. This does work towards me having a fast clock. Alright, there's the land drop. I will go ahead and drop this. Cutting off Sneak Attack. Alright. Green mana has appeared. I guess Daze is a card that exists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, Wasteland's cool. I can go to my opponent's turn here. I think I make their cantrips worse by attacking Tropical Island. I can't take them off of the required amount of mana for Show and Tell. Alright. It begins. No, I don't actually want to do that. Because then I can Mox Diamond, make my Urza Saga larger, also having slightly better mana in case a Blood Moon randomly happens or something. Alright. Make our token. Library's fine. Go ahead and make a new token. 10 incoming damage. Of a Haywire Might. Now it is 11 incoming damage. So Ancient Tomb is off. Opponent's at 2. I have Sudden Edict and Haywire Might available. That is a pretty respectable combination. Okay. Now you can ponder. I don't know exactly what you're looking for that gets you out of... Yeah, okay. Now that I know that my opponent also has random green sources, I kind of want this Wasteland back in. On the draw, do I want Surgical? I don't know how great Life from the Loam is here. Like, I don't really want to try to Life from the Loam Wasteland lock my opponent out of the game. I think on the draw, I'm going to take Surgical to increase the chances that I can do something like Thoughtseize Surgical or him Surgical. Roughly 50% chance of drawing a land. You have an incredibly strong hand. Turn 1 Smallpox backed by turn 2 him to Turok or vice versa. I think I keep this. Like, if I fail, I still technically have a piece of turn 1 interaction. But I did not fail, which is real nice. So, junk that. Pass that. Junk that. And I get to Smallpox without sacrificing a land. We're getting some movement. Brainstorm, or do we have a Daze? Oh, cool. It is resolving. I'll be getting rid of Assassin's Trophy here. Ooh, Magus of the Moon. Okay. I had mentioned that as a possibility last game. So now it's like, does this Hymn to Turok resolve? This would be an absolutely brutal Veil of Summer. I think I just have to go for it, though. Ooh, alright. We hit a land and an Atraxa there. Notably, my opponent was also F6'd. Okay, cool. My opponent is cantripping. That's no shuffle. So I think this turn starts out like this. I force them to fetch with Misty, and if they fetch a non-basic, I just Wasteland it. So they let it resolve. Means they are willing to let Misty go. Do I just still shut off Sneak Attack anyway, and then play Wasteland? Or do I take the Misty? I think I shut off Sneak Attack, since they didn't care about this. I'm going to go ahead and play this out to make my opponent's fetching more awkward, and make it so that they can't just fetch a Valk and clear the Ponder. They have to fetch or take a draw step and delay things. Sure. Alright. Amount of mana, not the issue here. I'm looking for a threat. It's a threat. Our draw is very much appreciated here. Not quite to appropriate amounts and colors of mana yet. That's fine. I'd considered playing Mox Diamond over Wasteland last turn, but I think I had valid reasons for taking the line that I did. Alright, got basics. Smallpox is a little awkward here. I think I just Thoughtseize over Smallpox. This is worse against Veil of Summer. But if my opponent Veil of Summers, they probably don't have a basic forest, so I get to Wasteland them, and then I get value out of this Wasteland that I wouldn't have gotten if I just cast Smallpox this turn. Force pitching Flusterstorm. Got it. Alright, my opponent's chilling. I probably want to give up Wasteland rather than this Verdant Catacombs. Actually, do I just want to cast Mox Diamond? That makes me significantly worse versus a Meltdown effect if my opponent is randomly playing that. I don't think I want to play that. I could play this land drop first, though, to play around another Flusterstorm or Spell Pierce. Go ahead and then Smallpox. It occurs. I will get rid of Wasteland. I'm one colored mana source away from having an Uro. And my opponent got rid of another land. I'm doing a good job of keeping them off of the critical density of cards that they need. So they essentially need like 3 mana Show and Tell plus creature. Alright, fantastic. Bayou. Fetch. Grab a basic here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's an Uro. Draws me a new land. This is a 3-turn clock. My opponent kept their cards on top, which makes me worried that they do have Show and Tell plus creature. I mean, there's not a lot I can do if that happens. Yep. Yeah. I need to draw a Sudden Edict. My opponent will have Force of Will. Alright, so my opponent got a draw 5 off of Atraxa. Verdant Catacombs is not going to change my clock here, like fetching with this. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a land out of the deck. I have 4 Sudden Edicts to draw, and I really need to hit one. You're a turn late. I believe life totals don't matter here. I think I just do this. Try to draw a Sudden Edict right here. Fail. So my Uro dies in combat. At which point I will just cast it again. I'll leave one thing in graveyard. For now, 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I'll leave Wasteland. 5. Done. Trying to get me another look at a Sudden Edict. This Force Pitch Ponder. I will fluster that. So I get Lily. That's great next turn. I know literally all of my opponent's cards. So unless my opponent's draw is Brainstorm, there shouldn't really be a way that Lily does not answer Atraxa. They'll be able to play this around. No, this is designated. No, Atraxa does hit me pretty hard and give my opponent a good amount of life here. But I think I get to swing this one back in the other direction now. There's Lily. Lily minus. Goodbye, Atraxa. In for 6. Make new land drop. Alright, opponent's at 20. I have 6-ish power per turn. I need my opponent to not draw show and tell. God damn it. Really? Oh. I guess that's fine too. They're gonna get second show and tell. There is also the meltdown that I played around earlier by not doing a third Mox Diamond. I just get Emerald this turn, right? Meltdown, blow up Pithing Needle, Lotus Petal, Emrakul, get 15, lose 6 permanents. Alright. I'm dead. There's the meltdown. I have so few permanents after that meltdown. I'm just not going to win. My opponent is, I guess, thinking about whether or not they want to attack my Lily. How do I win this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably by keeping Uro, Bayou, drawing a land and a Sudden Edict as my next 2 hits. Alternatively, I can keep 2 lands, and then Sudden Edict is an immediate hit. I think I'll keep the 2 lands. Alright. I eat 15. I'm at 9. And things are bad. Well, you know, we're still in it. Nobody's willing to just fucking die. My opponent is incredibly favored here. They're just going to cycle Veil of Summer. Basically, they just cantrip into a threat and I die. So, you know, don't like my odds. I'm just going to get mooned. It's a secondary sneak attack. I don't know if it makes sense to play that out. Alright, land pass. If I hit another land, I have Uro. But Uro is a 4-turn clock right now, which is basically an eternity. I do not want to cast this card. I need to get to 4 mana to Uro. And my opponent has more than enough mana to do their stuff. They need 2 mana. 1 to cast a cantrip, 1 to activate a sneak attack. Also pretty likely that my opponent has counter spells as of right now. Okay. Saga. Wasteland Forest, I guess? Yeah. My opponent may opt to do a tempo-oriented Force of Will to just keep Uro from coming down next turn. I wonder if I'm supposed to Urza Saga instead of Uro because Uro is worse against counterspells. Sure. Brazen Borrower? Alright. Brazen Borrower. That protects from an Edict effect. Gives me a reason to play Smallpox now. And makes this turn a little weird. Brings me to 6. No Dredge. Sudden Edict. Need to hold that up if possible. This is black, or Smallpox, so then I don't actually have Sudden Edict up right now. I am willing to take 1 more hit from Brazen Borrower if necessary. I think I am going to float a green and cast a Smallpox and see where this goes. That's fine. Now with this floating mana, I do this. Next turn, I can Uro and Sudden Edict. Okay, but my opponent found the out. Ugh, that was a slog of a game. GG's. My opponent's username is Control This. I will certainly try. If Mana Denial is not good against my opponent, my game plan is essentially dead. I will probably begin by Sudden Edicting this Delver on turn 2, and then trying to go from there. Go ahead and play this and pass the turn. I don't think I want to fetch to play Shadow Spear right now. I think Shadow Spear gets discarded to a Smallpox some portion of the time here. And I also don't really know what I want to do with Verdant Catacombs yet. It's like basic forest, so I can always cast Life from Loam is pretty cool, but can make casting Smallpox very awkward if Urborg gets Wastelanded. I kind of play things by ear, see if I draw a Mox Diamond or something. That just makes this all easier. Ooh, my opponent is on a single land here. If they don't drop a land main phase 2, I will probably just Wasteland them and take an extra 1 to 3 damage. So, we put 2 back with Brainstorm. One of them they just drew, the next one they'll just draw. I'm going to take, presumably 3. Presumably they set the Delver up to flip. I'm going to take 3 damage to knock them off of all lands. That seems like a worthwhile trade to me. Oh, there is a Daze. Pop that out so I remember that. It's not going to be live right now. I will go ahead and go to 16. I am going to slightly awkwardly turn this into Basic Forest, I think. And then Urborg. Not let my opponent get good use out of a Force of Will by playing a split second card here. And now we'll see if my opponent has a new land. They do. Oh, that is another opportunity to Brainstorm lock themselves. Bobble helps. Alright, sure. So they get their card. And I get to think about life a little bit here. I think I just cast a Smallpox. Start taking Force of Wills out of their hand. I play Verdant Catacombs. I have Days beat here. Days is fine. I will pay. I want to dredge Life from the Loam on my next turn. And I just want to cast that on my next turn. Some portion of the time. Dunk the Verdant Catacombs there. My opponent lost a Tarmogoyf, and even though I didn't destroy their land, I still set them back the critical land drop. And I'm going to do that again one way or another this turn. Saga, Wasteland, Verdant Catacombs. I'm going to play this dazably. Because if they daze it, they're still going back to 1 land drop. And if they don't daze this, I would like to be able to Wasteland them in this turn cycle. Yeah, daze is fine. I don't think I start investing in Urza's Saga. I will play the Shadow Spear now. And I think I'm very much on the Dredge Life from the Loam plan. It helps with my Smallpox, helps with opposing lands from my opponent. Yeah, this is fine. Reg. Cast. Bayou, Saga, Wasteland. 1, 2. It has occurred. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to Smallpox this turn. I think I'm just going to deny my opponent mana. I do not want them to slip a Murktide Regent into play. That feels like it is worth 3 life. And then I decide how many more times I'm willing to make that same trade. Because, like, Tarmogoyf is kind of the same way, where it getting into play is just quite bad for me. I'm gonna stay the course here. Burrow. I have no blue. Wasteland, Misty, Verdant. 1, 2. I'm hoping my opponent does a Force of Will on one of these, so then I can just drop a Smallpox as a follow-up. Okay, Force Pitching Daze. Now I think I am comfortable. That's the 3rd Daze. I'm comfortable casting a Dazeable Smallpox, given that. I'll play Urza Saga. And Urborg's quite strong here. Nice. I'll discard a secondary Urza Saga. I'll now sack my Urborg. I want to work towards blue, blue, green, green towards Uro as this game goes a little bit longer. It gets weird if my opponent hits their next land drop. Because, like, I want to, in theory, continue to keep them off of 2 mana, as I have worked so hard to do that. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Chain Lightning, target me. Do I dredge Life from the Loam? I can just make Urza Saga Construct tokens and start gaining life so I can't get burnt out, but I have destroyed so many of my opponent's lands. I think I just keep walking down this path. Wasteland, Bayou Saga, 1 and 2. Playing this around Days. Do this. Wasteland target you. Keep my opponent off of 2-drops. Keep my opponent's cantrips from being good. Okay. That is the first game that we actually poxed somebody out, and it's round 5. So, do I want to play Leyline of the Void? A lot of my cards in my sideboard are kind of eh. So, for example, Plague Engineer is situationally good against Delver and Dragon Rage Channeler. Good against Tarmogoyf, but once Delver flips and once Dragon Rage Channeler is a 3/3, that don't really do a lot. I am probably going to get rid of the things that impact my own life total in a negative way, except for Smallpox. And that's enough slots that I can already be thinking about these. I'm going to swap one currency converter for a Pithing Needle, so that when I need to, I can Pithing Needle Wasteland to let Urza Saga take over a game. And then I can think about these 3 counter spells. The issue is that it's kind of hard for me to play a 2 or 3 mana card while also holding these things up. They are answers to Meltdown sometimes. I think I'm going to submit like this. Might play him to Turok when I'm on the play, but it seems a little rough on the draw. A perfectly reasonable hand that I will be keeping. He'll probably be leading on Underground Sea. My opponent is mulliganing to 5. It feels to me like my opponent probably needs turn 1 Dragon Rage Channeler to stay competitive in this game after a mulligan that deep. Alright. Double Sudden Edict is very strong. There's a Delver. Hobble's fine. Yep. Secondary land drop. So they used that to figure out whether or not they should fetch. Or I guess they kind of did that with weird timing. No, I guess it works kind of the same way. Kind of. Like, this is better for looking for a Force of Will or Force of Negation. Okay, so they don't want the card that they saw. But the fact that it's a little awkward for me if my green source gets Wastelanded. I think I just play this turn. I don't want to start losing Urza's Sagas yet. Like, I would like to make non-Urza Saga land drops for as long as possible. Alright, Tarmogoyf is good. Will I lose Bayou? Will lose Bayou. Yep, that's fine. Like, I was willing to make this play because I still just had Sudden Edict as my follow-up for if my opponent played a threat and Wastelanded me. Like, it's worse for me that this happened, but like, I still have a very real plan. My opponent has 2 cards left. Ooh, that's very good. I think you're supposed to actually go after the Underground Sea there. And take me off of colored mana. One's got 2 cards. I'll play a Dazable Life from the Loam. This is really only a bad play for me if my opponent has blue card Force of Negation, but if they go Hellbent here, and I get to just start playing these powerful 3-drops, I think I'm okay. Seems weird to me that you didn't just hardcast that. But you may have your reasons. Nope. That just set them back a land drop. Delver's fine. I don't think I dredge here. I love hitting this land drop. Again, I don't want to necessarily start losing lands right now. Let's go ahead and Grist. Last card is another Daze. That's fine. I think next turn I just play Uro and Urza Saga, and I'm good from there. Delver didn't even flip, which is real good for me. This is, I think, only scary if like this next card is probably like Tarmogoyf, which it is not. For sure. They get their card. I will not dredge. I'll play this as my primary land. Hampton Uro, which gains me some life. I don't want to dredge. Put Delta onto the battlefield instead of Boseiju. Got more than enough stuff in Graveyard, and I can dump this currency converter into play as well. Game's not locked up, but it's turn 6 and I'm at 22 life. So I'm in good shape. My opponent hasn't had any sort of card advantage engine. You know, there's no expressive iteration in the format. They haven't played a Chart a Course or a Reckless Impulse, something like that. I will take 1 from Delver happily. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. That's fine. I can Boseiju that away if I even think that's a problem. I'm not entirely sure that I am convinced that that is a problem. Obviously no dredge right now. Ooh. Do I have Uro this turn? I do if I play Boseiju. Does this target? You may exile that card. This does not target. There's a billion ways to play this right now. I think I am going to keep my opponent off of red mana for Meltdown, swinging this game in their favor, and then probably just activate a currency converter and get myself a nice treasure token as a treat. Force of Will is fine. I am so happy to take 3 damage here. That's bordering on irrelevant. We'll be fetching a tropical island, and we'll do something neat. So we're going to go ahead and blow up Ground Seal, which is a discard, meaning that I can exile the card for currency converter if my opponent has a land that they'd like to search up. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and tap this, put that Boseiju back into my graveyard, giving me a treasure token, making my Urza Saga tokens just larger. I think I do dredge. So I will go ahead and make a token here. There are now 4/4s. I will search up a Shadow Spear. Cast Life from the Loam, targeting Saga, Wasteland, some other land. Guess I should technically do this post-combat, but I'm trying to Wasteland this Trop pre-combat. Yep, so I lose 1 point of damage for not doing my attack first. So I think I'm going to go ahead and let my opponent's mana pool empty here. No random Hurkyl's Recall is nice. Bring them to 15, and then I will get a second Urza Saga started. Assuming my opponent does do something crazy like a Meltdown, I still just have Uro that I haven't touched yet, and I have blue, blue, green, green to do it. Wander away. There's no shuffle. Wasteland is fine. I will go ahead and eat 3 damage. That's not that big of a deal. No dredge this time, I don't think. So I'm not going to lean further into the artifacts right now. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Some random fetch land, 5. So if this Uro resolves, I also get to equip Shadow Spear this turn, which I would love to do. No. Bayou is fine. It's very hard to imagine losing from here now. 9 damage this turn with 5 lifelink. That puts my opponent to 6, and I have lethal through a couple of blockers pretty easily. Yeah, Tarmogoyf is fine. Say no to that. Go ahead and draw a card. Discard a card. No. Card an Urborg. Go ahead and exile that card. Go ahead and do this. Keep the fancy art. This gives me 3 life and another land drop. Nope. Plague Engineer. I'll put a Wasteland onto the battlefield. I'll make my regular land drop. Go ahead and move a Shadow Spear to an Uro. Now I have something that attacks through the 6/7 Tarmogoyf successfully. Is this lethal if I just swing everything at my opponent? So Uro alone has to be blocked. Otherwise it's just 7 damage, which is lethal. Yeah. Alright, send those on in. Don't need that. No. This is 7 incoming damage. This trample. Alright, and that's good enough for my opponent to go ahead and concede, and we end up with a 2/3. Whew. Alright. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I definitely felt like I was playing the worst deck in most of my rounds. I very much felt like this was an uphill battle this league. As far as like a build of BUG Pox, this is totally reasonable, but if you asked me, like, what am I supposed to be good against, I don't know that I have a great answer for you for that. Because a lot of the creature decks, like the Maverick and the Elf deck that we played against, have ways of getting card advantage. You know, the Elves decks have Glimpse of Nature or otherwise a fast natural order kill. The Maverick deck buried us by playing a Palace Jailer and taking the Monarch. And I imagine that we would have similar problems versus initiative cards as well. And I don't think we're that great versus combo because we're trying to drag the game on and grind things out, which is not what you want to do when your opponent's deck is fast. And I think even with an absolutely massive portion of the sideboard being geared, at least this much being geared fully for combo, I don't even know that that's going to be enough. So, like, this is a deck that's fun. Like, these were incredibly interesting and intricate matches. Like, I enjoyed playing them. They were very interesting, but I think unless we see a new printing for this card, this deck is, like, firmly in tier 2 or so territory. All right, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. If you have any thoughts about the deck building or what should be in here, throw them in the comments. I really would appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.